Hey Eagles fans, I'm Thomas Mott. Welcome into the Eagles Report, and today we have some fresh Philadelphia Eagles news and rumors. A lot of trade rumors are heating up, and also fresh off the Dallas Cowboys loss. There's a lot of chatter happening in the locker room. We'll dive into that as well. Before we keep going, be sure to subscribe here on the Eagles Report. We'd greatly appreciate that. We try and build what is going to be the best Eagles YouTube channel here, hopefully over the next couple of weeks and months. All right, first rumor here. Apparently, multiple reports are stating the Eagles made an offer for Patrick Peterson. Now, the offer is, as you see right now, a first and Nelson Aguilar, but apparently, as of right now, the Cardinals have not accepted that trade to send their Pro Bowl cornerback over to Philadelphia. I would argue the main reason is because the Cardinals have won 3 straight. They are actually not technically in the NFC wildcard race, but they still can get there. And so if you're the Cardinals, you won 3 in a row. Whether or not you're a good football team or not, you probably got to keep your star cornerback. That way fans will be happy. But at least we know the Eagles are trying to make a push for a corner. Remember, they tried to trade for Jalen Ramsey. The report was they made an offer. The Jaguars countered with what the Rams had offered, and the Eagles did not want to pay. They said no to 2 first-round draft picks. So here's another example of the Eagles shopping around in the cornerback market. They have made an offer for Patrick Peterson, but so far the Cardinals have not accepted. Again, NFL trade deadline really about a week away, next week on the 29th. So these talks are going to continue to heat up, and you can probably bet the Eagles might try and sweeten the pot right now for a corner like Patrick Peterson. Now, question for you guys. Should they make another offer? Again, first and Nelson Aguilar, I would have done that trade in a heartbeat if, they would accept it. I'd be all for it. But maybe you throw in a 4th or a later round pick. That might be enough. We'll have to see what happens as the Eagles try and improve what has been an abysmal secondary so far this year. Other trade rumors. Looks like the Eagles are also interested in the Broncos' Chris Harris Jr., a star cornerback who really has kind of flown under the radar because they had Aqib Talib there for so many years. Remember, Eagles did try to trade for Ramsey. We just said they tried to trade for Patrick Peterson. Perhaps Harris can be the cheapest version of the good cornerbacks on the trading block. Will he cost a first-round draft pick? I would argue no. So the Eagles might look at Denver's cornerback to try and bring in some help into that secondary. Now, the way this trade rumor has grown is because Gary Cobb, a former Eagle a long time ago, said on his blog, which again, we're getting kind of weird here, but this was reported by Bleeding Green Nation, by 94 WIP, ESPN even picked this up. Here's what he said. Guarantee you that the Eagles are going to trade for Denver cornerback Chris Harris before the NFL trade deadline. I don't know the details of the trade, but it's going to occur. Again, Cobb is not exactly a, he's not exactly Adam Schefter. He's not a surefire thing whenever you are talking about trade rumors. But we do know the Eagles need a corner. And if Peterson too much, Ramsey was too much, maybe Chris Harris Jr. could be the option there, who's really a good cornerback for Denver. It could come right in and be the best corner the Eagles have had on their roster for a very, very long time. And if you could get him for anything less than a first-round draft pick, could be huge in terms of saving enough picks going into the 2020 draft while still adding on to the secondary. All right. How about this one? This happened just yesterday. Really, it happened on Sunday, I should say, after the Eagles-Cowboy loss. Lane Johnson, speaking to the media, said that the Eagles have been missing meetings and been late to practice, talking about how everyone needs to be held accountable. Now, after Johnson said this, Eagles safety Malcolm Jenkins went on 94 WIP in Philadelphia and basically denied it. So, here's Johnson's quote. We'll just go ahead and read it for you. Really, it's going to probably be a call-out session talking about this week. Everybody will be held accountable. Little stuff that slides during the week, late to practice, late to meetings, late to this and that. Stuff will be held accountable for. I think that will maybe creep into the game. So that's what Johnson said. Everyone looks at that and they go, oh, so the Eagles are a little bit dysfunctional. We're letting people be late to meetings and late to practices. That's not a good look. Well, then Malcolm Jenkins, again, went on Philly Sports Radio or Philly Radio and was asked the same question in light of Johnson's words, in light of what Johnson said, and Jenkins said this. No, not any of the meetings or practices I've been a part of. If that is happening, that's not the responsibility of the players. So that's kind of a two-headed monster there. So, Jenkins said none of the meetings or practices that he's a part of. Now, there are plenty of meetings that Malcolm Jenkins is not in because he's a defensive safety. He's on all the defensive meetings. So Lane Johnson could be referencing players on the offensive side of the football. But the big thing I take away from this is that Jenkins says that's a coaching problem, not the responsibility of the players, which might be a little shot at Eagles head coach Doug Peterson. Again, a lot to unpack here. It's harder for me to understand why Lane Johnson had to take this to the media. Now, I know it was right after the Cowboys' blowout win over the Eagles, 37-10, and of course, tempers are running high, people are embarrassed and upset, but why let anyone else know the Eagles are dysfunctional? Now, Jenkins comes back and says that's not true. So now you got this leader against that leader. Oh boy, we'll see what happens over the next couple of days and weeks here as Philadelphia is reeling. Again, 3-4, and the schedule is brutal. You got Buffalo, Chicago, and the New England Patriots all upcoming in the next couple of weeks. Question for you guys here. Are you worried about the Eagles' dysfunction? Are they a dysfunctional organization right now? Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. And finally here, more he said, she said. Remember last week we talked about how there was an anonymous source from ESPN's Josina Anderson saying that they're calling out Carson Wentz and calling out the play calling and saying Wentz needs to check it down more and yada, yada, yada. Well, apparently the anonymous source who called out Carson Wentz is the receiver Alshon Jeffrey, not the receiver Nelson Aguilar like I speculated last week. So, Howard Eskin, the Eagles silent reporter, told 94 WIP this morning, or yesterday morning, I should say. He was asked if he can tell us who the player was, and Eskin went, you know what, yeah, I'll tell you, it's Alshon Jeffrey. And then, later today, Josina Anderson went on her Twitter account and said, it is not Alshon Jeffrey, essentially. We'll throw the tweet up on your screen right now, but she's basically denying Howard Eskin's report. So, is it Alshon? Is it not Alshon? That's the battle we have. His word, Howard Eskin, the silent reporter, versus ESPN's Josina Anderson on who was the anonymous source who called out Carson Wentz. If I had to side with someone here, Howard Eskin has been around Philadelphia for years. He's a silent reporter. He's in the locker room more than Josina Anderson. I would back him up more. I would go for his side. But Josina Anderson at ESPN is very well plugged in. She could, be right about Alshon Jeffrey. Now, Jeffrey denied these reports, as of course every single Eagle basically has. But the other scenario here is maybe they're both right. Maybe it is Alshon, and then maybe Josina Anderson's source was a different Eagle, and two people have actually called out Carson Wentz. So we'll see what happens here, but Wentz obviously did not play his best against the Cowboys on Sunday night, struggled through a bad interception, and really, you go back and watch the film, he had a lot of open receivers, not a lot, but a decent amount of open receivers that he just didn't see, or he made some bad throws too. Love Carson Wentz, think he's going to be okay, he will bounce back, but it's interesting with the locker room situation right now. People calling out Wentz, people calling out people being late to meetings, people saying they weren't late to meetings. Whew. Feels like the Super Bowl was a long time ago in Philadelphia. We'll see what happens here over the next couple of days. You guys want to guess who called out Wentz? I know a lot of people thought it was Nelson Aguilar. A lot of people thought it was, I think someone commented saying it was Lane Johnson. I don't think it's Lane Johnson. Who do you guys think called out Carson Wentz? Who is the, the person, the whistleblower inside the Eagles organization, if you want to call it that? Let me know in the comments down below. Again, be sure to subscribe, building the channel right here. You guys have been great so far the past couple of weeks. Plenty of more news and rumors. Next couple of days, as we get closer and closer to the trade deadline. I do think the Eagles are going to make a move. Just a matter of when, if not, and not if. They need to bolster something, especially along the defense. Look for a corner or a receiver to probably drop here in the next couple of days. Again, we'll cover it here on the Eagles Report. All the time we have for today. For the Eagles Report, I'm Thomas Mott, signing off. Enjoy the rest of your day.